Let's take a trip back to one of the best decades in the history of sitcoms. The ones that made you laugh, cry and yammer excitedly in enthusiasm. These are some of the biggest names that almost everyone older than 20 should know. The 90s were truly one of the better decades for sitcoms. Not only did a lot of them come up in that decade, but the overall quality was something special. It was also their continued popularity that ensured their longevity. I still love to watch reruns of Seinfeld, Friends, and The Simpsons. Do the sitcoms that came in the late 90s make it into the following list? Or do the ones that hit a dead end in their broadcast somewhere during the decade qualify? Frankly, I'm just going to chuck the definitions listed if the sitcom made me laugh. The best of 90s television. Seinfeld was a laugh riot which started in 1990 and rolled on till 1998. And quite frankly, when they show it on TV now, it is still the funniest sitcom. It starred Jerry Seinfeld, who pretty much played himself. What went on in his life was anything but routine. So while the show always claimed that it is a TV show about nothing, it really was something. The main character was flanked by his friends George Costanza, Jason Alexander, Elaine, Julia Louis-Dreyfus, and the immortal Kramer, Michael Richards. Among the memorable fringe characters in the series were Jerry Stiller and Estelle Harris as George's eccentric parents, and One Night as the conniving postman, Newman. A great experiment in situational comedy that tickled funny bones of the global audience, Seinfeld takes the #1 spot in my list. Friends probably ought to be #1 owing to its worldwide popularity, but my personal bias for Seinfeld stands in the way. Friends went on for 10 seasons, 1994 to 2004. It is a simple enough story of 6 friends: Monica, Courtney Cox, Chandler, Matthew Perry, Joey, Matt LeBlanc, Phoebe, Lisa Kudrow, Ross, David Schwimmer, and Rachel, Jennifer Aniston. We laughed and cried with them for the 10 years of their existence, and some of their quotes still remain fresh in our minds. Their DVDs still sell like hotcakes among mad audiences who wish to watch some of the episodes over and over again. Friends was truly a wonderful journey for the stars and the audiences alike. The Simpsons: if you ever thought your family was a mess, you only had to watch this saga of the most dysfunctional family ever. The Simpsons is again enjoyed by audiences across the world, and Homer Simpson was pretty much a cult figure among the people who have watched and enjoyed this serial since its inception in 1989. Most episodes star the father, Homer Simpson, his wife, Marge Simpson, and his kids, Bart Simpson, Lisa Simpson and Maggie Simpson. But there were still several characters etched in our memories, like the old evil Mr. Burns, the barkeeper Moe, and Krusty the Clown. The Simpsons is a series that has to be watched to be appreciated. Full House: it may be a little debatable to include Full House in the list, as it spent its existence in both the 80s and the 90s. But then it was still one of the better ones on air during this decade, and one of the most watched family sitcoms. It had Bob Saget in the starring role as Danny Tanner, father of 3 girls, DJ, Candace Cameron, Stephanie, Jodie Sweetin, and Michelle Tanner, played by both Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen. To help the widower Danny take care of 3 young girls, he had the services of his brother-in-law Jesse, John Stamos, and his best friend Joey, Dave Coulier. Full House was an adorable show which emphasized on the importance of family values and traced the adolescence and growth of the 3 young daughters and how their 3 caretakers managed it all. Fresh Prince of Bel-Air: this show is better known as the serial that propelled a young and gangly Will Smith into global prominence. The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air was about a young street-smart kid, Will Smith, who was sent by his mother in Philadelphia to Bel-Air to learn the high-class mannerisms of their wealthy relatives, the Banks family. Of course, it wouldn't be so funny and watchable had the Banks family succeeded in their efforts. This show saw young Will leave a more lasting impression on the Banks family than they did on him. Other serials which I deem fit to round up the top 10 list include Frasier, Home Improvement, Married with Children, that 70s show, Third Rock from the Sun. While the sitcoms of the 80s were more about the emphasis on family values, The 90s sitcoms focused more on the life of a bunch friends and the funny things they went through together. But it all made for a great melting pot of laughs and enjoyment for the viewer.